Hello again, guys. It is I, Free700. We are back with some Star Wars lore. This time, the lightsaber form number 3, the Soresu, also known as the Way of the Minok, and also the Resilient form. Now, this lightsaber is a very interesting one to me because this lightsaber form revolves mostly around just being on the defense. It's the complete opposite of Juyo. Juyo is all about being energetic and constantly whacking at your opponent to pry open his defenses. Soresu is the complete opposite. It's all about being calm. Very rarely are you moving and just blocking shots. That's all you're doing, just blocking. This is where I see a lot of people have an issue between the Sheen form and the Soresu, is that I put an image here, but here's a good image in my mind that demonstrates the difference between the Sheen and the Soresu. Sheen is all about counterattacking. It's all about, oh, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. Oh, look, you shot me, I'm going to deflect it back at you. The Soresu's not that way. The Soresu's all about, oh, you try to hit me, let me just send it off to the side. You try to shoot me, let me just deflect it off into the ceiling. And it's just going to be constantly just pushing shit out of the way. It's all defense. Never is there ever going to be an offensive maneuver in the Soresu. If there is an offensive maneuver, it's not the Soresu, it's actually the Jedi Master using something like a Taru, or even maybe a different form of Sheen in his fighting stance. Again, when it comes to lightsaber combat, it's a lot like martial arts where you never want to rely strictly on one form. You kind of want to mix and mash it with a few other forms that go well hand in hand. But if you were just purely dedicated to Soresu, you would just be this giant block of just lightsaber deflection, just constantly pushing shit aside, dodging hits, deflecting hits, sending the opponent into kind of a pissy state where they can't pry into your defenses and you're not hitting them back, so now they're just basically wasting energy trying to hit you. This is really effective at tiring your opponents, essentially. Really, this lightsaber form, more interestingly, is that it wasn't meant for lightsaber versus lightsaber combat. It was actually meant for blasters. So gather around, kids, as I explain that. So originally, there was only two forms. There was the Shicho, which is a very versatile form. It's very basic. It's what pretty much everyone learns because it's pretty neutral. It's got some aggressive. It's got some defensive. It teaches you a little bit about blaster deflection, but not exactly well refined. Then you got the Makashi. The Makashi is really good for dueling and fencing, and it's not really good at all for really deflecting blaster shots. It's not meant for that. So, this is where Form 3 comes in, Soresu. Soresu essentially takes the failed principles of defense from the Shicho and perfects it. It essentially goes full in depth on how to protect oneself, using the minimal amount of energy and very minimal amounts of lightsaber movement. This is something that's very interesting. So, Juyo, we talked about, where Mace Windu will open up his arms, and the Soresu fighting stance, I got here with a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's kind of similar. You got his hand out, his foot out, he's open. But the differences are pretty significant. Juyo, at least Mace Windu's form, he's keeping an opening because that's a false opening. The moment you go for it, he's going to whack your head off because that's not a real opening. All he's got to do is pull his hand back and slash your face in. Soresu, he's got his body open because that way, wherever shots are coming from, wherever your lightsaber is going to go to hit him, he is pretty much ready to slightly move his body or slightly move his lightsaber down or up just to deflect, maybe to stop a glancing blow. It's very minimalistic in movement. This is why I would say it's a very lazy lightsaber combat. So Juyo's full of energy, just whack. Ataru's all jumping and doing all sorts of stuff. Then you got the Soresu, which is very, the guy is going to shoot me with his blaster. Let me just get down on my knees so it goes over my head. And while my lightsaber's up by my forehead, let me just block his other blaster shot that's going to come to my face. So it's very interesting because it's all about energy conservation, which is very different from pretty much every other lightsaber form. Lightsaber forms are all about expending energy, expending your own fatigue to try to get a blow on somebody. Maybe create openings in their defenses. Maybe just keep whacking away until something happens. But Soresu is the complete opposite. It's all about how can you conserve as much energy as possible? Just protect your calories. This is why I wouldn't be surprised if a fat-ass Jedi was the master of Soresu. Just constantly conserving energy, tiring out your opponents to the point that they get so tired that now they just pretty much submit and fall before you. Now, Soresu isn't exactly viable 100% of the time. Like, Soresu wasn't really meant for lightsaber versus lightsaber combat. It was more meant for deflecting blaster shots. So if you're fighting 20 dudes who all have blasters, you'll be fine. You just got to keep on wiggling your sword. Spinning techniques with your swords is very valuable for this form as well, because then you could block more shots that way. It's very minimalistic as far as like how you spin it. It doesn't even need to be fast. It just needs to be a spin. But when it comes to fighting other Jedi, like a Juyo or a Sheen, this could be an issue. Because they're going to be hacking away at you really hard and really fast. And if you're trying to do the bare minimum to deflect their shots, yeah, you might get a little too lazy and sloppy to where he just does one overpowering move and boom, now your own lightsaber's down on the floor and you just lost an arm. So this is where I would say Soresu is not exactly good for lightsaber combat, but you could do it. I mean, Obi-Wan proves it. You can do it. It's just you have to be more aware of your environment in that situation. And that's another principle of Soresu, is by being a more broad approach to your combat form. So usually when someone fights, they're going to be focused on their blade, and that's about it. Soresu, you're going to be a little bit more aware about your environment, like standing on the high ground. If you're standing on a tall platform, it's going to be a little harder for him to whack your necessary parts. That way, all you got to do is just lift up one foot anytime he tries to swing you, and boom, he misses. But there are some other things too, like if he starts to get tired, you can start flinging stuff at him, like maybe a crate, or maybe fling a towel at his face, so now he's blinded. Something that's very simple. And this is all about Soresu being, again, an energy conservation technique rather than a, oh, let me step into you and try to swing at you kind of technique. Now, that is pretty much it for me. I actually like Soresu form a lot when it comes to KOTOR 2. Because KOTOR 2, when you're in Nar Shaddaa and you're surrounded by bounty hunters, oh my god, Soresu is amazing. Just deflecting like 50 blaster shots a second. But it's really not my thing when it comes to lightsaber versus lightsaber combat. Instead, Sheen or Juyo would be more my shtick, because then you're prying someone's defenses open, you're hacking them down, trying to create openings. But Soresu's essential goal and victory in mind is to tire someone out to the point that they're willing to listen to you, so you can calm down a Sith and just talk to him and say, hey man, just give in to the light. Or just tire them out so that way when they're so tired, you just fling one crate at their face and boom, they're down for the count because they're so winded. So that has been it. See you guys next time. Comment down below what you guys think. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, keep in tune for more content. Love to see you guys next time.